let's go ahead and talk about headspace and mindset. So Dr. Robby Delgato, my brother, tell us a little bit about yourself, why we would want to listen to you about headspace and mindset, and then let's dive in and give them very specific concepts and strategies to keep their head in the right place.
Okay, so a bit of a background on myself. I qualified as a chiropractor 2006, very pain-based model. Moved over to the UK and spent 6 years in London, and was exposed to the other side of chiropractic, the more vitalistic side of chiropractic. And I started following guys like you and Patrick Tempo, and I became a big disciple of James Chestnut. I did the wellness paradigm within my practice. I went through the '08 crash in London. We had a pretty good practice. It was over 300 a week. And, by the next Monday, we dropped, I think, to about 100 a week over a 24, 48-hour period. Yeah. So I felt that pain before. But anyway, soon after that, I moved back to Cape Town, South Africa. That's where I am now. I'm still in full-time practice. But I had this drive and this vision to do mindset coaching. And it was always something I was interested in. I then signed up in a very intensive course with one of the top mindset and business coaches in Europe. And I was with him for a full 12 months. And he put me through my paces and taught me most of the concepts that I'll be speaking about today. And then I started an online business, and I do mindset coaching online. So I have a very special place in my heart for chiropractic entrepreneurs. And I hope that some of the things we're going to be talking about will serve you. And I will tell you, and I'm just like those MMA fighters, mindset is the foundation of everything. It really is the difference between success and failure is mindset, I believe.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Let's jump in, buddy. What you got?
Okay, so just bearing in mind of the current situation we are in, obviously there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of fear. And I would say the first action step I would say for every doctor to go through is you've got to sit down, maybe look in the mirror and make a decision. And you've basically got to say to yourself, there will be some doctors that fall by the wayside. I'm sure there will be practices that shut down, but you need to make the decision that you are not going to be one of them. And a decision means that you're going to take action and you're going to do whatever it takes to get to where you want to go. So it's not I should do it. It's not a mixed emotion type thing. It's a decision that you may not know every step you need to take. You may not know every challenge that you will face, and you may screw a few things up, but you're going to make the decision to get to the other side, whatever it takes.
That's right.
And
there are no other choices. There is no plan B. Whatever it takes, I'll get up early, I'll stay late, I'll do whatever it takes. But this is the only option, is I'm going to thrive through this.
That's it. I mean, if you look at many billionaires have been bankrupt.
Many times.
Health coaches have been sick. Many relationship coaches have been through divorce. So what's happened is through a great challenge, their back was up against the wall and a should became a must, and they made a decision. And then the challenge that they went through actually became their greatest gift. And I believe for certain chiropractors that make this decision, this time period will be a gift, because there will be some doctors that will come out of this stronger than they have ever had before. That without a shadow of a doubt. And there will be others that don't. And the difference will be between that decision, the actions, the routines, and the mindset that they have.
Absolutely. If you look at, I've just read a couple of books, Steve Jobs and, I can't remember his name right now. He's got the airlines.
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. I read his book, and I can't believe how many times these guys failed. Like I've failed and recreated myself, and failed and recreated myself, and failed and recreated myself a handful of times. These guys have done it epically. And that's what I've seen with the greats in the world, is they fail forward. And that's what we're asking you to do, gang, is to fail forward right now, to come out of this better than you've ever been before, to look at this as an opportunity. Keep going.
Absolutely. I'm also, thinking of Richard Branson's story, when he first got into the airline game, one of the stories he tells is he came home one night and his banker was sitting on the front stairs of his house. And they said, Richard, I'm here to tell you that we are foreclosing your airline. This cannot carry on. It was a complete failure. And look where he is now. Steve Jobs had many projects that failed. He designed many computers that didn't sell. He was fired from his own company.
Yeah.
But the difference is that he made this decision that I'm going to change the world with my hardware and my software, irrespective of the journey that I go on. And one thing I've noted in studying, say, the real big titans of business, the 8-figure, 9-figure businesses, is there's a few patterns that you see. And one is they take action very quickly. So they make a decision, they take the action, and they might succeed, they might fail, but they pivot and they take action again. They take action a lot quicker than the rest of us. And they don't think, they don't think things through as much, so that fear starts to come in. They just know what they want. They know that that action is in line with what they want, and they take that action, and then they see what they have to face.
That's right. Done is better than perfect. And the 80-20 rule really lives within their minds. They're going to take action, and they're going to course correct, build the wings on the way down.
That's it. I mean, one of the greatest gifts my coach gave me was, he not only said you will face challenges, he said you must embrace them. You must embrace them as part of that journey. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, because it's one of the only books I've read that talks about how you will be tested all throughout your life. And at first, when you are tested, you will perceive it as a negative. But then when you look back and you connect the dots, you will see that that is absolutely perfect in your journey. And when I got to that point in my own mind when I wasn't trying to avoid challenge, in fact, I was saying, bring it on, because I knew that every challenge would create discomfort, would create action, and then I would come out the other side in a better position. And it's been my experience that that happens every single time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The obstacle really is the way.
Absolutely. I help a very dear friend of mine who owns a drop zone. I used to skydive with him all the time, and I helped him write his course for taking people for their first jump. And it was all about bring it on. And I brought my daughter when she was 14, and she got to jump, and his whole course is on bring it on. There's a great video of her jumping out of the plane, and as she's jumping out, she's screaming, bring it on.
Oh, right?
It's such a good thing. But it is. Look, brother, this is true. If you got a little gray in your hair, you don't have any hair kind of stuff, you've been around long enough, you're too young, you don't know this yet. But the truth is, you're going to have challenges. That isn't the question. How you face these things and whether you embrace these things as an opportunity is really what it's all about. And then what you do about it. Beautiful. Good. Keep going, buddy.
We all know John DeMartini well, and he was one of the first guys I started following as a teenager. And his biggest impact on me was that question: how could this serve me? How could this serve me? So let's say we're in this situation, our practice is shut, our volume's way down, we've got time, and we sit there and we go, okay, practice is down, we've got a lot of time on our hands, how could this serve me? Well, what if you use that time to go back to all the stuff you've been putting on the back burner, all the systems you wanted to put in, all the staff training you wanted to put in, all the stuff that the real top performers do, but you didn't have time. What if you did that now? Because here's the thing. I thought about this morning. Say you're a 200 a week chiropractor, and that's your normal volume. If things go horribly wrong and you come back and it's 100 a week, that's devastating for you, because I'm sure your lifestyle is in line with your 200 a week. But what about the doctor that sees 400 a week? And for him, devastating is 200, where you were at your best. So it's all relative. So the question is, why don't you just start doing what the 400 a week did initially, so that your worst becomes what your best used to be?
Yeah.
So what is he doing differently to you? What are his habits? What are his rituals? I'm a big fan of the whole Tony Robbins thing of success leaves clues. If somebody is doing something great, you can model There's two things, their mindset and their actions. And if you have those two things dialed in, you literally could do anything. What would happen if BJ Palmer was running your practice? You know, what would happen if Richard Branson was running your business right now? Do you think he would take different actions to you? Do you think he would get different results to you? And I'm sure you would agree, yes, it would. And the difference is the way he thinks and the action that he takes.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Keep going, buddy. I'm taking notes.
So just in terms of what I would say that could serve our doctors now, number one is we've made the decision that we are not going to go down and we're going to do what it takes. Number two is we've got to really get clear on what it is that we want. You must have a picture and a vision in your mind of what your goal is. You know, what is your goal in terms of practice going forward? What is your goal in terms of your family, in terms of your personal life? You've really got to get clear on what it is you really want. And I think for a lot of doctors, this is a perfect time to actually sit down and go, what is it that I want? You know, and get clear on that, because we want that vision in our mind. We want that picture in our mind. We want to feel the emotion as if it has already happened. And when I go through my morning routine with you, I'll tell you how important that is. And I'd say the next thing is watch out for those limiting beliefs. So if I can use myself as an example, I was always a warrior. Not a warrior as in fighting. I used to worry a lot, you know. So I was the guy like, what if this happens? What if that happens? You know, right now I'd be like, what if the lockdown never ends? What if no patients come back? What if I can't pay my mortgage? That was how I was most of my life. And it was based on beliefs that had been programmed in my mind, mostly between the age of 0 and 7. I know exactly where it came from.
Right.
And because of those beliefs, it set up a dialogue in my mind, a conversation in my mind, which created an emotional state. And your emotional state is everything. So one of the first things I did when I worked with my mentor is he said to me, what is your vision? And I told him. And as soon as I told him, this little voice came in my head saying, yes, but what if you fail? What if it doesn't work? What if you criticized? You know, what if you're not good enough? What if you succeed for some people? And he took me through a process of writing down what those limiting beliefs are and analyzing them, figuring out what evidence there was for them, where they came from. I realized where they came from. And then I reprogrammed the subconscious mind using some techniques to flip those around. So my new belief is, if I think about what I want, instead of that dialogue being, what if I fail, which creates paralysis, and it did for me most of my life, my new belief is, there's no such thing as failure. There's feedback, and I will get things wrong, but I will use them to pivot and get better again. So because that is my new belief and it's programmed in my subconscious, I have no problem taking action, because there's this knowing that no matter what happens, I will find a way. And it doesn't mean I make less mistakes. I probably make more now. But it does mean that fear is gone, because it's just like, it's going to happen. I don't know how, but it's just going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this feedback versus failure is really huge. One of the things I talk to my doctors about, and I have a blog on this, is the asking the right questions, listening to your internal dialogue and asking the right questions, recognizing that every question is a presupposition. So what if I fail? What's the presupposition? I'm going to fail. Recognize that your reptilian brain, your reticular activating system, is just like Google search. So when you put in a question, it goes and it searches and it's looking for proof. It's looking to prove your question. So if you're asking, what if I fail? It's going to go and look, and all you're going to see is all the things that are going to cause you to fail. There could be this right here, right in front of you, which is the answer to the problem. And you will not be able to see it because your reticular activating system does this. Literally, the reptilian brain filters it out. It's right in front of you, and you can't see it, right? So it's really important to understand the kinds of questions that you're asking yourself. You know, a question is, what if my patients don't come back, right? What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Other ones are, what can I do to get my patients to come back? How can I be a beacon of light for these people in their times of need? It's really important to be very acutely aware of the presuppositions of the questions that we ask, and then recognizing this feedback versus failure routine, this feedback versus failure. Look, it's like you're going down the street, you're banging against the curbs, right? It's always giving you feedback. You're not going to just go straight. That feedback allows you to go straight.
Oh, I mean, you spoke about how the emotional state, something I really want to go through is when you're in a state of stress or fear, which a lot of us are going through because there is uncertainty, you go into scarcity. And the problem with scarcity is then it becomes all about me. So when you're calling that patient for reactivation, what's happening subconsciously is you're going, come in because I need $80 for you to come in, because you're in scarcity, in protection mode. It's human nature. And you're at that vibrational state. The patient can feel it over the phone. I believe that even on your emails you're writing, the videos you're creating, it's all based on your state. And if you're in a state of scarcity about, I need something from you, they will feel it. And it's not always easy to change your state. If you're sitting now in practice and you're wondering how you're going to pay your mortgage next month, it's very, very difficult to go from scarcity to abundance. The only way to do it is through habits and routines. So, which I'll discuss in a few minutes. But I will say this: please, 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 when you are going through the strategies that you're going to be hearing from Dr. Rosen, the state that you are in when you are doing all these things, the phone calls, the emails, the videos, you must be in a state of giving. You must be in a state of giving. You must give your all, and you must trust that you will receive. Just give everything that you've got and you will receive. They will pick that up, and there's nothing more attractive to anybody who comes across somebody else who is a well and is just giving. They just want to be around you. Yeah, and if it takes a morning routine to get into that state, as it does with me, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, look, it will take a morning routine. It is going to take listening to your internal dialogue, feeling your body, making appropriate changes. If we don't do that, then we are just flapping in the wind, right? That's what's going to happen. For a lot of people, they have a challenge with this. Well, that's so airy-fairy. It's your vibration. What is this, like the 70s, Beach Boys, good vibrations? The science is really clear on it. Let me see if I see it right there. Do I see it? Let me see. No, I don't see it. Okay. Is it Miramoto? Is that his name?
I'm not sure. Miramoto. Is that with the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, the water crystals. Yes.
Yeah. So long and short of it is, this guy takes water, takes a word that you wrote down, like hate, tapes it to that, lets it sit overnight, freezes it, cuts it, looks in the microscope, and the crystalline structure is an ugly crystalline structure. Yeah. Then he takes the word love or joy or happiness, puts it on there, lets it wait overnight, the vibration of writing the word, like not even saying it, causes this beautiful crystalline structure. Gang, we are vibration, and your vibration makes all the difference in the world. And if you think that you're going to be having this wonderful, beautiful vibration without having a ritual, you're kidding yourself, right? It's not going to happen.
Everybody has had this. If you've been in practice a while, you know this. You'll have days where you're not feeling good and you're just feeling annoyed or in scarcity, and suddenly the phone starts ringing and everyone's canceling and everyone's late. And then you'll have other days where you come in and you're just feeling good, you're feeling full, and the phone starts ringing and suddenly people are coming out the woodwork. Any practitioner who's been in the game for a couple of years has had this experience. Now imagine being in that state most of the time. Things start happening. You don't have to worry about the details. Things just start happening. Strange things start happening. And that's why the mindset is so important. I mean, Joe Dispenza, a chiropractor as well, is doing amazing work with this at the moment of taking these philosophies that have been around for thousands of years and linking the neuroscience to it, and I think for anybody who's thinking, I'm not so sure about this whole thing about state and affecting reality, look at Joe Dispenza's stuff. It is absolutely brilliant. His book, Supernatural, I think is one of the best books that's come out of late. I use as meditations in terms of my morning routines. But even if you don't agree with all that stuff, you can agree that the emotional state you're in will have an effect of the person in front of you or the person that you're speaking to. They notice.
Yeah, look, thoughts lead to feelings. Feelings lead to behaviors. Behaviors lead to actions. Action leads to present. Present leads to future. That's the way it is, right?
That's it.
And so if you are not feeling good, if you're feeling anxiety, for myself, I started studying this in 78. So been a while. And it's been, you know, a huge part of my life. Before my feet hit the ground, I check how I feel. If I feel anxiety, I know my internal dialogue during my night was telling me negative things. And before my feet hit the ground, unless I really got to pee and then I'm coming back, but before my feet hit the ground, I'm asking myself questions. I'm trying to trace it back and I'm getting clear of what happened. And then I'll use one of the techniques that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes to help me clear that out, because I want to start my day from a positive place, not from a place of negativity, because that will lead to the things I don't want. It will lead to the self-fulfilling prophecy of the things I don't want. It is critical that we're watching our internal state, our internal dialogue, and that we have tools to shift that around.
And you know, the morning routine thing. One of my clients said to me last week, she watched "I'm Not Your Guru," which is a documentary about Tony Robbins. And look, he's been doing this stuff for 40 years, and he still has a morning routine. He has a ritual before he goes on stage. He has a ritual before he works with any client. If after 40 years he needs a ritual to keep in state, you and I need the same thing. And if you can just do one thing, and that is have a morning ritual that you do every single day, you will see shifts in your life. It's not always easy. You know, I wake up pretty early. I wake up 4:30 a.m. most days. Every single day, my body says, stay in bed. It's not like I jump up and I just want to like change the world. I'm tired, I'm cold, but I've trained myself to sit up the moment my 2 feet are on the ground. I'm happy I did it. And every single time I go through my ritual, which these days is most days, everything else is different afterwards. Absolutely. The day I miss it, my day is different.
Absolutely.
So that morning ritual is key. And it doesn't need to take very long. And it can shift your entire day. And now, at this time, look, we get affected by our environment. Currently, there's a lot of fear in our environment. So if you're not taking action every day to get yourself right inside that environment, you will automatically go into fear and scarcity, because that is the environment that you're currently in.
Absolutely. So what are some of your favorite things for a morning ritual?
So for me, the first thing I'll do is I do a meditation. I'm a big fan of the Dispenza meditations. Basically, I use meditation to get out of the head, which is where all my limitations and fear, and get into, the heart, get into the real me. I do that for about 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes up to 30 minutes. I then do 5 minutes of breath work, very simple, just 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. That's to energize me. I usually then read something. So whatever book I'm reading at that time, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes, I always do 2 or 3 minutes where I'm writing down 10 things that I'm grateful for. You must be in a state of appreciation. It's the most powerful state there is. And taking a pencil out every single day and writing down little things. I get my students sometimes to write 50 things, 100 things, until they're saying, I'm so grateful I don't have holes in my socks. Really going deep. Right. But it becomes, because as we all know, repetition wires the brain. What fires together wires together. So by doing this every single day, by breath work, by meditation, by getting into the heart, by being grateful, you start conditioning the mind to being in that state for longer and longer and longer. And then I try and do some exercise. I don't always do the exercise in the morning. I prefer to do it later, but a lot of people do recommend that. And then I start my day.
Yeah, beautiful. 2 things I'll add to that. Cold shower. God, that's good. Ice cold shower. And the other thing is, if you haven't been exposed to Wim Hof, Wimhoff, he's the Iceman guy. Man, he's got a wonderful app. It's a breathing app. You can do it
Yeah.
for as long as you want, and it is phenomenal. It's
Oh,
absolutely
wow. I didn't
great.
know you had an app. That's brilliant. I'll definitely look at that.
Yeah, yeah, check that out. So those are things that I would recommend. Good. So far so good, and we've got a morning ritual. What else?
Then, morning ritual, then I get up and I do my thing. Oh yes, the other rituals that I have is goal conditioning and state conditioning. Again, this is something I learned from Tony Robbins. Goal conditioning is holding in your mind what your goal is, the picture of it and the emotion of it, for a couple of times a day. So for me, I get quiet. I start thinking about where I want to live, what my kids are doing, what my practice is like, and I feel that emotion as if it is already happening, and I hold that, and I'm conditioning that state. I feel the appreciation, and neurologically, remember, we're making those connections. And then the other thing is state conditioning. What that means is if I find myself going into a state of scarcity, say I get an email, or say I look at my bank balance and there's a big minus in front of the number, I start getting anxious, I start getting fearful. I immediately change my physiology. I get up off the chair and I get into a different state. I kind of shake it out. I use my breath. I get out of my head. I place my awareness on the heart area. I think about what I'm grateful for, what I'm appreciated of, and I break that state immediately, because that tells the subconscious mind, I'm the boss around here, not you,
Yeah.
And again, when you break that state quickly, it's very, very powerful. So over time, it becomes easier and easier and easier. So goal conditioning and state conditioning, throughout the day.
Yeah, and look, if you want to know what your neuro-emotional complexes are, I learned this from Scott Walker in the late 80s when I was doing a lot of work with him. Just take a look at your goals. That's where your neuro-emotional complexes are. That's where you're going to need to look to your internal dialogue. So many of us, I'm looking at my goal. I weigh 170 pounds, and what I hear is, "No, you don't, you fat shit." Right? All right. So now I know what I need to work on is, "No, you don't, you fat shit." Right? So it's really important. So many of us have tried this, and then it's not fun anymore because it's not true, right? But if you're not dealing with no, you're not, you're fat shit. If you're not dealing with that part, this is never going to work. So you got to have ways of really, like you were talking about, that dealing with that state, right? And then changing it. And then again, some of the techniques we'll jump into to really go in and turn that around, to shift that around, so your subconscious actually starts changing, which is what we have to do, because everything's run from the subconscious.
Yeah, I mean, it's 90%, maybe more, 95% of your life is autopilot. I mean, it's crazy. The subconscious is literally 1,000,000 times more powerful in terms of processing power than the conscious mind.
Absolutely.
So we should be spending a lot of our time figuring out what patterns are going on there, and talking about, I want to be 170 pounds and you're a fat shit. Yeah, that was just me. When I used to think, I want more money, I want a bigger business, I want whatever, that belief of, but what if you fail, came out. So now you've got a mixed emotion, because you want the nice house, the nice car, but you don't want to feel the feelings of failure. Or you want the house, the nice car, but you don't want to feel judged or criticized. So when you visualize your goals, so let's use an example. You your goals are, you want to hit a certain a point in your practice, a certain volume or whatever, and that belief comes like, yeah, but what if COVID is still around, or what if you do a Facebook video and people judge you? That's a big one for people when you put yourself out there. Then you've got to write down that limiting belief, because that guy is going to hold you down.
That's right.
And then you've got to look at it on a piece of paper, and you got to say to yourself, what is the evidence behind that? Where did that come from? Go back to, who was it? Mother, father, teacher, preacher. Who was it that programmed you, that had that? And then just to give you an idea of some of the techniques we use, one of the crazy ones is, what I do with limiting beliefs is we look in the mirror and say that the limiting belief is, what if I fail? Then that has a big emotional reaction in me. It's like, it's scary. The fear of failure is scary. I get an emotional reaction to that. But when you make it ridiculous, this comes from NLP. When you look at the mirror and you go, I used to believe that I couldn't build my business because I could fail. but you say it like Mickey Mouse dancing around on one leg,
Right.
it then loses its power. It's like you do that repetitively and then you don't get that same emotional reaction. And then you stop and then you say to yourself, this is my new truth. You know, there is no such thing as failure. There's just feedback. I will take every single action that I need to take or whatever it is. And you say that with certainty. If you do that regularly, I used to do it 10 to 15 minutes a day when I first started working with my mentors. I had 3 or 4 limitations. What if people judge me? What if I fail? What if I'm criticized? And I took those 3. I looked in the mirror. I said them as ridiculous as possible until they had no emotional reaction in me. And then I got certain and I started affirming the empowering belief that I had. And with time and repetition, it started getting ingrained in my neural circuitry. And now those beliefs are no longer there. You know, what if I'm criticized? Now it's like everybody's criticized. You know, Mahatma Gandhi was criticized. Jesus Christ was criticized. Everybody was criticized. In fact, the more impact you have on the world, the more criticized you will get. And you just accept that as being the other side of serving people, you know, and now it doesn't bother me if it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this is a great segue into, look, since 78, I've been studying this stuff. And the very best thing I've ever run across, and there's, you know, neuroemotional technique and QNRT and EMDR, there's all these things that can be done. But there's a book called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. And I'm going to give you a link to a 10-minute video where she explains this in detail. But I'm just going to walk Robby through this. So let's take a look. You know, this is the best thing I've ever seen to help me shift that place, to find my center. It's 4 questions in a statement. Really, really simple. So let's take a look at this one. Now, I think what I want to do, instead of doing it on what if I'm criticized, because right now most people are thinking like my life is ruined and it's over, right?
Yeah.
And so let's do that one. So let's assume that right now you're feeling, you know, my life is ruined and it's over. And you want to go to the scary place, right? The real scary thoughts. You don't want to go, well, I know things could possibly get better. No, bullshit. It's, man, my life is over. It's the ones that keep you up at night. So I'm going to play with Robby on this. Now, the basic tenets are this. 1, I'm not going to argue with reality, because when I argue with reality, I lose, but only 100% of the time. Okay, so I'm not going to argue with reality. And the second one is if it doesn't feel good, it's probably a lie. Okay, and again, she goes into great detail of why that makes sense, but you'll find that it's really true. So I'm going to walk you through the questions, and you'll play along like the people who are listening, like my life is ruined. I'm never going to recover. Okay, and I want you to feel that for a moment. Okay, Robby?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so the first question is this. Is that true? Your life is ruined and you'll never recover.
Probably not.
Yeah, okay. And the second question for people who go, yeah, I think that is true, is can you absolutely know that that's true? From a 10,000-foot view, from God's perspective, from karma's perspective, can you know that that's true, that your life is ruined?
No.
Yeah, no, you can't. Okay, so the next one is this. When you think that thought, my life is ruined and I'll never recover, how do you feel?
I feel terrible,
yeah.
Anxious,
yeah.
fearful.
Terrible, anxious. So remember, thoughts lead to feelings. So I feel terrible, I feel anxious. When you feel terrible and anxious, how do you behave?
Terribly. I don't take any, I get paralyzed and I do nothing.
Yeah, so when you go in with your next new patient and you've been telling yourself, I'm never going to recover, and you're feeling terrible, you've got a much better chance of that person signing up for care. Is that true?
No.
No, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what happens. The thing that we fear the most happens. That's what happens. So the next question is this. If I could drop that thought, which you can't, that's the whole point. You can't drop these thoughts. They're subconscious. But if I could frontal lobotomy you and you couldn't think the thought, you know, my life is ruined and I'm never going to recover. And you look at all the opportunity in your life right now. You're watching this program. You've got people who care about you. You're already a doctor. Like, if you really look at the truth of what's going on and you could drop that thought, how would you feel right now?
Oh, I feel like clear and confident and excited.
Absolutely. Right? It's like, there's hope. There's things I can do about this. So now the turnaround is simple. You just look at that statement, my life is ruined and I'll never recover, and just turn it around. Is it at least as true or truer to say, that my life is not ruined and I'll recover.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah.
That's the truth. I mean, it's at least as true or truer, but it gets me in the mental state, right? Good on the water versus bad on the water. It gets me in the mental state that now I can write the email. Now I can make the call. Now I can go with my new patient. Now I can look for what should I do next? And my reticular activating system, presupposition, Google, is searching for solutions. So when this comes right in front of my face and my eyes cross like this, and I go, wow, there's a solution to this problem. Whereas earlier, I didn't see it, right? It's one of the most powerful techniques that I know. And I hope you guys will go to the link and check it out because it's really worth learning. Cool. What
And,
else? Yeah.
and I mean, oh, sorry, go for it, Russ.
Go ahead.
Something I just want to say as well is if you're a doctor, if you're a healer and people are coming to see you, I believe it's our responsibility to get into this state, because people are coming to see us and they're asking for solutions to their problems. And it's our responsibility as doctors, as professionals, whatever it is, to give them the best that we possibly can, And so for me, this stuff is not, something you could do or whatever. This is your responsibility. And it's not only going to change your life for the better, but I can't tell you how many people have come in to see me and many of the people watching this. And the fact that you've just been opened and listened and given them hope, it's completely shifted the direction of their life before you have given them that adjustment, that vitamin, that remedy, whatever you're doing. Just the mere fact that you're in a state that you saw that person and you connected to that person can completely shift them before you've even touched them.
Absolutely. That's what they're paying you for.
Exactly. That's why we are paid pretty well, for our time, and it's a responsibility to take that fee from that person and give them everything that you've got. And if you are sitting there and you thinking about other things and you're thinking about the football game and the weather and you're selling them short.
Absolutely.
And don't do that. So this stuff we're talking about is a prerequisite.
It's the hoodoo, not the voodoo, right? The voodoo is what you do. The hoodoo is who you are and how you vibrate, right?
That's it.
Okay, I have a couple other techniques I want to go through. Is there more thoughts that you're having that you want to go through for stuff?
No, you go for it. If something comes up, I'll let you know.
Perfect. So a couple other things that I do with my doctors when I'm coaching doctors, what I use for myself, a couple other tools. So one of them is that one, Loving What Is by Byron Katie. It's called The Work. The other one is Giver, Gift, Value as a Result. So in this particular case, the giver is the pandemic, right? And a lot of people are feeling like, I didn't do anything wrong here. I'm a victim, right? So we got to shift that consciousness. So the giver is the pandemic. The gift is the quarantine. It's that your practice is down. It's that you don't have money coming in. That's the gift. The value to you is what? So Robby, if the giver is the pandemic and the gift is that your practice is down and you have all this time, what could the possible value to you be?
Oh, because of the time, it gives me the time to sharpen the axe. It gives me the time to get better at everything, so that when I come back, I'm more successful than I ever have been.
That's right. And as a result, because of this pandemic, because I sharpened my axe, as a result, what could your life be like because of this crisis?
It would be better than it's ever have been before. And without this crisis, it wouldn't have happened. This is the thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And if we look back again, you got enough gray hair or no hair, you can look back at your life and look at things that were tragedies, that breakup. Oh my God, I'm never going to make it. It was the best thing that ever happened. It opened you up to your lover, right? I mean, it's just like, if you really look through your life, it's true, or it didn't, and it crushed you. Right? But that's all here. It's the same thing as getting in the cage and someone's pounding you in the face and they're telling you 90% of the game is between your ears, right? Yeah. So giver, gift, value as a result. I'll have that written out for you. Another one is have to, choose to, because. So just understand this. You hear yourself say this all the time. And I was doing this because I just put in 400 hours in updating and redoing my communications program. And at literally like the week that I stopped, and I promised myself all summer I was not going to do any extra work. I was going to play, I was going to vote, right? That same week, this pandemic happened. And I've been doing 10 to 14-hour days making videos for people, watching videos, trying to learn the best I can to help people. And I started bitching and moaning about it to my wife, saying, God, I have to do this. And, you know, she just smiled and she looked at me, she goes, you have to, right? And I go, oh, yeah, right, thanks, right? It's have to, choose to, because when I have to, I'm a victim. And what happens to victims? Robby, what happens to victims?
They suffer because of things that happen outside of themselves.
That's it. They get victimized. Victims get victimized. They lose, but only 100% of the time. So I have to do all this work right now. No, I choose to because I want to be part of the cream that rises to the top. I want to recreate myself. I want to be better than I was. I want to serve my coaching clients. I want to serve the optimal healthcare profession out there. It's why I'm doing this program at no charge, because I feel better about myself when I do this. So it's have to. Oh, no, no. I choose to because. I choose to because. I promise you, gang, this is such a powerful one. Good on that.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Another piece, stop watching the news. Gratitude, attitude, gratitude journal. Stop watching the news. It's scary shit, right? It's scary stuff. Knock it off. Robby talked about setting your objectives. Man, now is the time more than ever. Get really clear. Get with your team. Have a team that you trust, that are behind you, right? Get all the negativity out there, and you've got one mission, and that mission is how are we going to thrive? Get clear about who you are, and it's who will do what, by when, and how. That's the law firm that I like. Who will do what, by when, and how. And if you do those things, you're going to get better results. I can't recommend enough you get an accountability partner, right? Accountability partners are really, really good. And those are just some specific techniques that I know that can help you get right between your ears in the right state. So when you take that little word and you put it on the water and it gets a beautiful crystal, it's because of the right word that you put on there versus what the media is telling you right now, and what your bank account might be telling you right now, and what your numbers might be telling you right now. Knock that stuff off. Get your head in the right place, and you, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Robby Delgato, Russ Rosen, we can all thrive because we are changing what's in here first, and then we're taking appropriate action steps. That's my 2 cents.
Something just what you said now just reminded me. I think it was Bob Proctor who said this. He said when he has a big problem and he's really in a fearful state, he takes a pen and paper and he writes the problem down and he places it on the table and he takes a step back and he looks at it. And suddenly by writing it down and putting it somewhere else, it's like he takes it out of his head. And then he says, well, his big mentor was Earl Nightingale. And he says, what would Earl do now? You know? So I think that's such a powerful thing is if you have somebody you really look up to, maybe within your profession or just in life, you know, what would Nelson Mandela do in this situation? You know, what would Abraham Lincoln do in this situation? It's a very interesting question because suddenly it can give you the perception that it's actually not as big a problem as you think it is. And somebody like that would look at that problem and blast through it, you know, because they've dealt with much bigger things. And it takes it away and it puts it on that piece of paper. So that's something I have done before, and it's something you can try, especially if there's someone you really look up to that would be able to deal with the situation well.
Absolutely. Look, when it's in the multidimensional, we can't grab it. It's like trying to grab smoke. When it's in the three-dimensional, when you take it from the place of fear, multidimensional, into on paper, you can look at it and it's now objective. You can do something about it. Get it out, get it out of our head and write it down. Really important thing to do. So we're coming to the end of the lollipop here, my brother. Any other last thoughts before we head out?
I'm just saying that I just want to say that you can get out of this. You will get out of this if you follow the things that Russ is going to be teaching you in the coming weeks. You will come out being more successful, more fulfilled with your practice than you ever have in your life. And what an amazing blessing we all have to help people for a living. You know, we're not selling photocopy paper here. We are basically using our skills and our talents to serve humanity and getting paid pretty well for it. And just know that that is a blessing, and use that time to become much better at doing that. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, brother. This was fantastic. I not only have enjoyed the work that I personally have done with you on mindset, and it's really been wonderful for me, but I know this is going to help a lot of people. So thank you, my brother. Listen,